thanks for coming, Dane. Well, welcome to the Resilient Hustler.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
It's good to meet you. Just for our viewers and people listening, would you mind just kind of introducing yourself and talk a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. I'm Dene from Streetwise Defence. We deliver violence prevention training, which self-defense, but I try and stay away from that because that's I feel it's like 80s and 90s, whereas now we need to bring it into 2024.
It's in the rough rock kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like we need to update it and get to where we need to be for the general public, as it were, because I think they've been let down a little bit. So yeah, from my background, done a lot of martial arts in my early days. Did competitive fighting. Then I joined the military, joined the Marines for a short period. Had an unfortunate accident which stopped that career, put me back probably 5 years. I got my leg shattered, so in and out of hospital, got MRSA. So I went for a massive change in what I was all about. So I had to try to rethink that, which was a bit of a tricky time from being very physical to that sort of full stop, and then like, okay, my career stopped. What do I do now? So from that, fortunate to get into private security through people I knew, sort of contacts. I went over to Iraq in the early 2000s, did some private security over there, and then I did some private security within the UK for a few different companies, local councils, working with some police forces, things like that. And then it kind of evolved from there. I was fortunate to do some very high-profile bodyguarding, looking after some very famous people like Russell Crowe, Angelina Jolie, and Brad Pitt and the family. And I sort of bounced between doing that and the hostile stuff. Iraq, Tunisia, 2 days after revolution, took the CEO of British Gas back out there with a medic to make sure he kept the power plant running. And I kind of bounced between them two worlds, which was bizarre. One minute I'd be sat in Iraq. Next minute, I remember being sat at the Beverly Hills Hotel looking after Russell's young son at the time, and with a nanny and his wife. So, and it's kind of got to this point now because of the lockdowns the last couple of years. We've had time to focus on the self-defense, violence prevention, and this is it for me. I feel like I'm on a mission with this to share knowledge and help other people stay safe and look after themselves.
Okay, so there's a lot there. There's a lot there to talk about. So first of all, before we get to the glitz and glamour side of it, I don't know, it probably wasn't glitz and glamour for you, but the martial arts side, what made you get into martial arts then?
Good question. Being bullied. I think when I was younger, I was an overweight kid, got a lot of bullying at school. Then in the secondary school, I started boxing. Some of the other lads there started boxing, so I kind of went along to the club, started boxing, which was my main sport to start with. Did some competition as a junior, and then progressed into I looked at other martial arts, kung fu, a bit of jiu-jitsu, things like that. And then I started training at a kick and Thai boxing club, and it just kind of evolved from that. But it was the bullying, I think, that pushed me down that road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess for a lot of people, bullying has quite an impact in a negative way. I guess what you kind of turned was that negativity into something that you could prevent, I guess more prevention for going forward, so you were never in that situation again. Was that kind of it, or did you just, what was it that pushed you into?
Yeah, I think when I started growing up and getting obviously physically bigger and I started doing more sports, it was quite empowering, and hopefully I never used it in the wrong way. I've used, it was there, like I think most people's experience of boxing, there's a good group of blokes, or women, whoever in that club, it's a good support system, and you kind of, you can look after yourself, but I would say majority of people don't use it in the wrong way. So give me that grounding, give me that confidence to know I can actually look after myself physically.
Okay.
And coming from when I was little at school, running away from school all the time, begging my parents not to go to school and all this kind of like psychological trauma that I suffered.
Yeah.
It's really helped me. Although now I have an issue with bullies, because of that.
Of course.
ingrained in me as a kid. I don't, you know, and it's like I hate seeing people being bullied or coerced into stuff through fear. So I think that's what's pushed me down to where what I did through life, and now I feel like, you know, like a protector, as in don't want other people to experience that, especially our younger generations.
Okay, so I guess that's a bit of the passion that sits behind a lot of what you do now, kind of.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And then, so then you went on to become a Marine.
Nearly. Yeah, I was clear. You know, I was in training,
Right.
so I didn't get my beret. I came on summer leave, and that's when I got hit by a drunk driver. So I was close, but not quite. So yeah,
that's frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. It's always that doubt. Could I have done it? And I'm still friends with friends that were in and passed out and everything. And you know, they always reassure me you would have been all right. So I kind of.
So what at that time when you were, I guess you were taken out, you were training to be a Marines. This is like another. I guess it's a setback again for you, and knocked confidence, and I guess you were left unable to train, unable to go forward. So where was your mind with that at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was a tough one. From being so physical and being surrounded by a group of men that were all driven, you know, you just feel like you can accomplish everything because everyone's in the same mindset.
Yeah.
So you never see a problem. You're looking for the solution. Yeah. And that was just in training, you know, let alone when you get in and obviously do other stuff. So physically it was hard because I couldn't do what I kept having the doctors coming. I got that MRSA superbug. So daily the doctors are coming in saying, we might have to amputate your leg. If you can't get rid of that bug, it's going to get in your skeleton, and then it's like you've got to chop off and if you don't get it in time, then it can sort of riddle your whole your bones, your skeleton. So it's like, okay, you won't be walking again. You're definitely not going to go back in the Marines. And and the attitude was like, all right, we'll see.
So there wasn't a lot of positive and all that. I mean, how did you keep going, like driving forward? What was your focus at that point?
My dad was overseas working. My mum was so supportive. She was coming in every day. I was in Bristol where my sister lives, and my mum travelled down and she stayed at my sister's, and she used to come in every day. Bless her. She used to bring in like sandwiches because the food wasn't, I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't what I needed to prepare. So she used to bring food and stuff. And yeah, I had my nephew was 6 at the time, and it was just like, as down as I felt, and a bit of darkness creeps in and stuff. I got my nephew, so I'm like, okay, I need to dig in here and show an example from that adversity to sort of go, okay, it's either going to make you or break you.
Yeah, so I guess you use your family members as a bbit of an anchor.
Yeah, that was positive. And it's human will, I suppose, isn't it? I suppose maybe from my boxing and stuff, that sort of bit of fighter warrior within that we all have.
Yeah,
it sort of kicked in, and just simply.
How long was the recovery period?
The initial, when I got hit by the car, I had 10 days in hospital, pinned up and everything, sent home. And I was in training still, so I was like bouncing between Lympstone and home, and it was a bit of a whirlwind really. And then within a month, I'd got MRSA. So, and it was, I went to one of the doctors, and he said, I always remember, he said, don't waste my time. I've got more important things to do. And I'm like, I'm in pain. I can take a bit of pain, but I'm like, there's something not right.
Yeah.
And a friend at the time, he drove me from where I lived, which was 4 hours down to Bristol, to Frenchay Hospital, where I had my original, they saw me when I was down there. And within a couple of hours, I was in isolation. They'd done blood tests, and I was in there for 3 months, just over 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a setback for your whole plans then. So it was like, what, 4 months, maybe more for recovery kind of period?
That was just a starting point, because then I had operations, pins in, pins out. They scraped my ankle to try and improve it, which made it worse. And then in the end, they fused it all up, which was probably about 10 or 12 years later. because I really pushed back on the fuse in my ankle.
Yeah.
Because I thought, as soon as I lose that, I'm going to be like a robot. And I was like, and that movement, because of the impact and how it wrecked all the bones and ligaments and joints, that was the cause of me pain. So it took me about 12 years, I think it was. And I got it fused. I'm like, oh my God, if anyone's watching this and they want to think about getting something fused, I wish I'd done it on day one.
Oh, really?
Because my body's adapted. The pain that it got rid of, it's reduced it massively. Because before I had it done, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be crawling to get to the toilet and that, and putting, even I'd be sat down like this and I'd get up to walk and I'd be like, till you sort of get in that.
Yeah, this warms up.
Yeah, you're like, wow. So, yeah, that was a good thing I got done, which I really resisted on, but the reduction in pain now, it's made it more workable. Whereas before, because that slight movement, it would swell up. So I was on doing jobs and I remember I was on it for 12 hours one day and I couldn't walk on it for 3 days because, it swelled up and everything. And now that's kind of just about gone. So it's a lot more workable and, a lot less pain.
So how long after that is that when you then started to look at going into, I guess, private security kind of thing? Was that when that came along?
It came along. So my accident was 99, August 99, and I went out to Iraq. I think it was 2003. So I was still. It was later when I got it fused, so I was still working and going over to places like that with the issue. So I was still. Probably was stupid if I was honest, because I had to gauge everything.
On capability.
Yeah, massively reduced. So I went through that period of, quite a lot of different jobs for quite a few years with it like it was. So I was always gauging it, how to, do the job still, but try and reduce my pain and how it affected me.
So the security, how long were you doing the security for, the private security? How many years?
I started in probably 2000, because I know some other guys that were in the industry and good friends as well. We started off doing surveillance stuff in the UK for some councils and working for some police forces, because the guys were military, they had a different set of skills.
Right.
And my skill set, and I'm honest about it, wasn't up to their level, but I learned quickly from them. Yeah. And they were good blokes and they taught me. So we did a lot of stuff. Followed cash drop-offs, for cash machines, video and that, and evidence, things like that. So it's very interesting. And I was lucky to do that. And that was through people I knew. And hopefully I did a decent job. And from that, I got to know other guys that are in the industry. And that's when the private security stuff in Iraq kicked off, early 2000. And I remember getting a call from a good friend saying, can you get over, I think it was a Friday, can you get over here Monday? And at the time, all the work in the UK had sort of dried up. I remember I had £5, putting £5 of fuel in my mum and dad's car that I was borrowing to get around. It's an old white Volvo. Her 340 Volvo is like a little tank. And I remember putting £5 in, like, I'm on my arse.
Yeah.
And I got this call and I'm like, two things. I'm like, okay, can I, it's work. I can earn some reasonable money. But the other side of it, I wasn't particularly bothered about me, so I'm like, if I go over there and I don't come back, then the positive bit is the payout the company would give my family would secure them.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a weird time because I didn't have any value for my life, because of how everything had changed. So I was in, not a great place. And that's when I obviously got out there, started doing that. And then from that, because I'd been to Iraq at the time, it was kind of like a buzzword for security. Everyone's going, have you been to Iraq? Or, and I think maybe that would it reassure people that you've got, no, you're not scared, but you've been there. So it's like a tick in the box.
Yeah.
And that's when, because of guys I knew, and I got introduced to a gentleman who was doing a lot of celebrity bodyguarding, looking after people. And that's because I'm a physical size and looking, and because I'd been there, I think that helped me get into that line of work.
Really good. And was that, how different was that to what you've been doing before? Was that?
Yeah, it's so different because you're dealing with, you know, the public. So your role is very different from like a hostile environment where potentially you still have to get on with people, interact with like local tribes, leaders and people, local people. So you still have to have, you know, an element of empathy and understanding, but you're there as probably a more
crowd control,
harder position. You know, you're there to show kind of force.
Yeah.
Although sometimes you don't, because, you know, depending on what's going on and what you're trying to achieve. Whereas with the bodyguarding stuff, you're dealing with a lot of people. You know, you're dealing with nannies, you're dealing with potential wives or husbands, family members, hotels, staff, room, you know, people that service a room. So it's more, you kind of, I suppose, negotiating with people, trying to make things work because you've got a client or a family. You understand what their needs are and you're trying to achieve that, but also keep them safe, but also work with everybody else because everybody else has got a role and everyone else is as important as anybody.
Yeah.
So like going into a hotel, you know, trying to understand the manager viewpoint rather than going in there and say, we need this. It's like, okay, we'd like to achieve this. Can you help us? How can we? Because that's their hotel.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. Yeah. It's not like the military where you go in and you can. Yeah. You can in the military terms because you've got the backup military, but you know, I'm just a civilian. I'm going in there as private security, so it's trying to work with people to make it all work for everybody.
I guess that really hones in your communication skills and patience.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, and then, you know, you're dealing with young children as well, so you got to put your daft hat on sometimes, and you know, because you want the children to be comfortable with.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's like, all right, being big and scary, and there's a time to, you know, be that if you need it.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with like family members and that, and you need to be approachable and
you
not
got to fit in.
You got to blend in and make people feel comfortable, but still be in the background if you needed.
So how long were you looking after celebrities then?
On and off, probably maybe 18 years. Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
Because it was weird. I was bouncing between going to Iraq and then doing the celebrity stuff, which like I said earlier, you know, bouncing from living in a tin up with sandbags and a load of guys with weapons and, you know, looking after some engineers to being sat in Beverly Hills with the door open, watching telly. I just had a nice room service breakfast, waiting to see if,
I mean, there's perks, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Just waiting to see if the nanny's going to take the young child out and if you've got to escort them and you know, stuff like that. So yeah, it was bizarre. In that sense.
So what's the most, I guess, what's the most common question you get asked a lot when people find out that your background? What's the most common question that people want to know?
What they're like. What they're like. Yeah, and I'm like, you know, and it used to embarrass me.
Oh, he's a dick.
He's a pretty chill guy. It's one of the embarrassing things because people want to know, and now like what I do now, it helps get that out there because people are intrigued. Go, oh, what's, you know, he's done that, but it makes me cringe a bit because I feel a bit cheesy.
Yeah.
But I'm just fortunate. I'm really lucky that I did that because I know not many people do, and obviously how my career's developed, I've been really fortunate to do that. Everybody I've been looked after or been part of a team looking after, they've always been all right with me. You know, I know they have their issues, and I don't want to get into that because, you know, it's personal, and I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know the full, you know, the details.
Yeah, exactly. I think
it's sad sometimes. All I say on that is for anybody who comes from any family that the parents aren't together, I feel it's sad for the children because they're the ones that potentially are affected the most.
Yeah. And especially when media's brought into it.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone has this perception of the celebrities and stuff like that, and the personalities and all the drama that might go with it and stuff like that. But I guess as long as you are comfortable and are fine with it all and stuff like that, then
it's tough, isn't it?
Who they are.
It's tough, isn't it? Because I've been there. Like a little story I'll share, and I know he'll be all right with sharing this. Russell Crowe. So I can't remember what year it was. He wanted to go to Wimbledon, and he wanted to take his dad to watch the final, and I can't remember who's playing. I think it was Federer and somebody else. So we got in there, got his seats. I sort of said, "Are you all right?" I didn't want to sit next to them because it's family time, and I thought it's secure. You know, we're good. So I just backed off. I said to him, "I'm going to be just round there. If you need me, just put your hand up. I can see you." So I left him to it. And as I was going off, a stewardess come up just to, you know, sort of say, you know, okay. And he went and he saw his Shane Warne was a really good mate of his, and he saw him down there, and he's got the steward. He went and he stood up and he was trying to point to the steward where Shane Warne was, and what he said was, he said, just let him know I'm here, because he didn't know he was, just to let him know I'm here.
Yeah.
And the papers got hold of that and said, the Gladiator wants a better seat or something like that, a headline. And I was like, that wasn't.
Yeah.
He was quite happy where he was. He sat with his dad, watched the match, and he was good. But
Chris anything.
It was like, wow. So yeah, it's got to be tricky for them, because it's that how it's. Is it the truth? What, is it spun a little bit out of
perception, isn't it?
Yeah,
twisted on it. Because they could see anything really, just as long as it sells a paper. I guess.
And must be frustrating for them, because it's not the full picture, is it?
No.
It's a snippet of something that is taken out of context. So.
Yeah, and then used against you. Then you kind of feel personal that it's someone's dragging your name through the mud.
Yeah,
and it's not good.
Yeah, difficult for them.
So then, when you were jumping from, I guess, private bodyguarding to going back to Iraq, there's probably two different mindsets, right? You got to get into. Was that quite hard?
Never really thought about it.
You just did it.
Yeah, I suppose you just on that, and that's your task or job or whatever you want to call it. Then it's finished, and then you're on to that. So I don't know what other people like that have been military or are. You can't. I feel like now I have the capability to. I'm doing that for 2 days, switch into it, and then I've finished to switch off to whatever.
Yeah.
Just a way of it being easy, I suppose, for me. Like when I used to go to Iraq, I used to kind of switch off from home life. As much as I'd miss home life and the people that I care for and love, it just didn't help me.
Yeah, of course.
I always struggled the first day or two, whatever I was doing. It's like, and then I just get into it and you go, okay, I'm here for that period.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd
head in the game.
Yeah. Because you sort of go, that's all there. That's not going to help me.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure I do this right to make sure I get back. Or yeah.
So now when you have, do you ever switch off and like completely?
I'm aware that, and like doing what I'm doing now, understand violence. Do I ever switch off? I'm aware, more aware probably. I don't think it's in a bad way. I don't feel like I'm paranoid. I'm just taking in more information. I'm, looking around more present within the environment and the people around me. I think that's just because I understand violence more now at a deeper level and how it actually really is, and how things are changing. Let alone with everything else going on. People under a lot of pressure, living expenses, all the things that are going on in the world. I think everyone's sort of, like I always say, everyone's carrying these bags of stuff around with us. And I'm just more wary of that, how maybe are people more volatile, more angry, more frustrated, maybe? Well, I think so, because the last few years, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've all felt that at some level.
Yeah.
If it's
Absolutely.
not directly, it's indirectly. So I think, it's a tricky time for people.
So before we jump on to what you do now, Streetwise, have you, I'm keen to know, have you ever kind of like ran and rugby tackled someone on the ground by accident and they've been like, just pulling something out of the bag that was really innocent and you thought, it's a gun?
No, because most of the times we can avoid it.
All right, okay.
I would say, hopefully talking for other people, is when you're in that in that industry, you're very observant to situation, people, body language, mannerisms, human nature. So you can, you're looking for it. So you can normally pick it up before it happens, so you can preempt it.
Right.
So you can avoid it. I mean, being places with people and you're sort of looking around and you see, okay, that person, right, we need to just do this because I don't want to have to walk past that person. Well, one thing and if any of the lads are watching this, they'll probably laugh, because remember being in London with Russell and his wife at the time, and I think it was just Charlie. They've got two sons now, but it was Charlie who was the older one. He was only little at the time, and they'd gone out for a walk, and they're pushing a pram, if I've got this right, and you're looking ahead because you're thinking most people don't expect to see a famous actor walking around London, and when they do, you get a few reactions. It's just like somebody will be looking, trying to work out, going,
is it?
would he be that? And then you've gone past them and you're away. Other people react instantly, and I remember walking down the road, and I can't remember if was I in front or behind, I can't remember, and I see this person, the bloke, walking, and he suddenly turned round, and I got in front of him because I didn't want him to take a picture of the family because we're trying to respect that. And he was like, "Mate, what are you doing?" Like that. And I was like, and then I suddenly realised he hadn't spotted Russell and his wife and Charlie. And I was like, I felt such an idiot. I was like, and I'm trying to go, what do I, oh, sorry, mate. Sorry. What was I thinking? And I just thought, that was what an idiot. I'm not like, this bloke's going, look at me going, what are you doing, mate? I'm like, thinking he'd spotted him to try and get a picture or something. And I'm like,
no, he just remembered he forgot something.
Yeah, you just like, I read that one wrong, didn't I? Oh, jeez.
Because I think a lot of people's perception of like Private Bodyguard and stuff is the Bodyguard movie, Kevin Costner, Whitney, and all that kind of stuff, all the dramatics, running, kicking people in the face while carrying out the nightclub. And
I mean, I might be like that in the.
You weren't carrying Russell Crowe.
No, no, it's quite a unit. It's I don't know about the music industry. There's elements of that are true. Some of it,
yeah.
And it's like there's the Bodyguard and one, wasn't there, on BBC, that the series. It's interesting watching that because there are some elements of it,
that you can relate to.
Yeah, there's a lot of boring stuff.
Yes,
waiting and and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, I mean that's cool. I used to enjoy that. I got put with the kids straight away, rather than the actual clients and that because.
You were fun-time bodyguard.
Yeah. Daft Dean, yeah. But you still have a laugh with the kids and the nannies because I'm like, I've got kids and I've always got on with kids, and it's so I like that because it was a lot less pressure because people don't know the kids and you just look like you're a family out or whatever. So you had that freedom. You wasn't sort of worried about people taking pictures or anything. Obviously, you've got to look after the security there for that. But it was so easy to go about and do stuff, and for the kids to have fun as well.
Yeah. So Streetwise Defence, then, how did that become born out of all this?
Originally, I used to do what I thought was self-defence years ago, and I used to do a little bit. And we had a website, and then with what happened the last few years, lockdowns and the security industry massively changed and other sort of personal reasons and that kind of I stepped back. I was made to step back. Things just happened, and it gave me time to look at what I was doing.
Yeah.
So the last job I did, I went out to Libya, and I was part of a small team that I was helping train in the Interior Minister's close protection team because there was a threat on him at the time, or a perceived threat. And while I was over there, I met some other ex-military guys, and we did some training and stuff, and I learned bits from them, and I was like, okay. And so I came back, and then it made me look at what we was doing, and I feel like it took us to the next level because we're looking at self-defense, whatever you want to call it, at a very different angle from what it was before. Yeah, I'm not down on martial arts. It isn't martial arts. It's looking at all the preventative stuff, all the preventive that's applicable to, a 10-year-old girl or an 82-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Obviously we have to address the physical, and it isn't martial arts based, but if you know martial arts, so it's a good thing because you know how to strike or kick or whatever, and that's only going to help you. But reality is the majority of people haven't got time to learn to a proficient level. And then the reality isn't quite like what we're led to believe. So it's, unfortunately, it's violence and it's very raw and horrible and how things actually take place. So I went through that process of re-looking at things. And then with my partner, Julie, she's been awesome because she's backed me up. She's helped so much with bringing the woman's perspective into it. So the website's changed massively. And what we deliver is very different. And we're at a good place now because we're 2024, we've got to look at all things like domestic violence, coercive controlling relationships, honor killings. There's so many layers to self-defense. It's not just the smashing the pads and that. Yes, that's an element of it because if everything else fails us, you still need a physical response to get away and to get to safety. But that's the last thing I'd want anyone to do. So it's realizing what we can do, what's applicable for everybody that we can implement in our daily lives to stay safe and make the people around us.
So is it like reading situations and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a lot of human behaviour.
Yeah.
Because violence is between human. What people probably don't realize is around about 90% of attackers are known to us. And when I learned this and I looked at my life, I'm like, oh my, yeah, the biggest dangers are relationships. You know, the last time I looked at the stats, you know, as an ally to women, every 3 days still in the UK, a woman's taken from us. You know, I think last, was it 60-something% is by a partner or ex-partner. You got family members, you know, so I think the stranger element of it was 9%. So, you know, for me, the biggest thing I'd say is your relationships.
Yeah.
And also realizing if there's a change in their behavioral patterns. You know, if you've got a partner who doesn't drink and then you go home and they've got half a bottle of wine they've drank, then you go, that's a change in them. Yeah, well, are they all right? And is it a danger to me? So we kind of, you know, we've got to look at it different to make sure it's applicable to everyone. Yeah, you need the element of, you know, I suppose the hardcore element of it, because there's some people who are like that. But we feel like we're looking at the majority of people that don't have time to train in and out to, you know, go to the extent that maybe I have and other instructors. And most people just want to do a workshop and get some goodness from that, some good stuff. So yeah, back to the original question. It gave us time to sort of pause and look at this and realize, like, for now, this is it for me. I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, because it's so needed. And it's horrible because when you look at the statistics, which are shocking, and as a man and as an ally, it frustrates me. You know, I think it's under 2% of sexual assault on women actually end up in a prosecution. That's ridiculous. You got a massive stalking issue. 1.9% of stalking cases end up in a conviction. So it's all these layers that we've got to make our younger generations aware of, you know, boundary setting, you know, what they're comfortable with, standing strong in their own power, and realize how they can keep themselves safer, because there's a lot of good people doing all the, you know, helping people after something's happened, but the psychological and physical effect of a physical attack or an emotional attack is massive. I shared a story on, was it Yahoo News? I dated a lady who was a narcissist, and I didn't know, and this is, I can't remember how many years ago, not that many, 8 years ago maybe, and I didn't know what a narcissist was. And it blew my mind because I cared for the woman and, you know, I thought a lot of her, and the manipulation that I went under, gaslighting, word salad, I actually doubted my own reality to the point where I rang up crisis management. Because, you know, and that's mad. I felt suicidal because my head was just a scramble. And I'm quite a strong character.
Yeah.
But the manipulation, I'm like, and then another friend was going through similar, and I remember him saying, do you know what a narcissist is? I'm like, no, I remember Googling, and he's like, and I'm looking at it going, looking at each other going, well, you're going through, and it was like a light bulb going, but
yeah,
potentially we have narcissists in our life.
So with your workshops and stuff now, who do you target? Are you going into companies or are you?
Everybody. Yeah, we're getting into schools, universities and colleges, which is exciting because, you know, if I'd known what I know now, I'd have avoided so much confrontation.
Yeah.
You know, understanding when I can de-escalate a situation and when I can't.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff that we go through. So that's exciting because this should really be a life skill.
Yeah.
It should be in our curriculum as much as reading and writing, because it's so important.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So we're trying to reach out, you know, to get this kind, not saying ours, but this kind of education in the system is going to be so beneficial across the board, emotionally, physically, financially, you know, resources and everything. It's just a benefit for everybody. Companies, staff, you know, your staff are your key assets. You know, if they're not safe, then the impact on, let alone for them personally, but businesses and that. So it's applicable to everybody, you know.
And how long has Streetwise been going?
Ooh, I'd say unofficially maybe 10, 12 years. The last 2 years, you know, we're full on with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's happened in the last 2 years for that to go full on?
The realization that I want to step away from what I was doing because I want more time. It helped, you know, being away so much, I lost a lot of time with family, and kids and stuff. And it's just the passion and the drive now, because sadly, I'm realizing that this is so needed, and it's so misunderstood. You know, I always say to people, "Oh, can you do an hour session?" Yeah, but how good can you drive a car in an hour? Yeah. It's like, give us more time, because it's so important.
Yeah.
So yeah, colleges, everybody, it'd be great to, Department of Education to look at this. I did a diploma with trauma-informed schools, and I'm a massive fan of what they're doing because they're understanding trauma, and how that affects our kids, and looking at how our children's behaviour in a different lens to go, they're struggling. It's not because they're naughty, it's because they've had some trauma that they need the help and guidance, and brilliant. And that was one of the hardest courses I did psychologically, but I'm so glad I did it, and I'm going to keep going on that line to understand, people's physical and psychological trauma that, we've suffered from an early age.
So with Streetwise, you went it full in for the past 2 years, but before that was kind of unofficially. Was that like just as and when you had time? Was it just was it like freebies, or was it you were doing actual workshops for companies, or who? It
was a bit sporadic. I did a few free stuff, and that was it was good because it helped me get better.
Yeah.
And then getting people's feedback and looking at it and being analytic, like I am now. Like I always say in front of anyone we get in front of, if there's anything you think we can add, you think I've missed from it, let me know. I'm pretty thick-skinned. I'm not going to be offended, because if we make it better for the next group, then it's a win-win. I'm still looking at stuff now and wanting to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I'm the expert. It's like I've got a lot of knowledge, but I'm still thirsty to look at what everyone else is doing and going, okay, let's question that. Is that a better way, or do we need to know more about that? So yeah,
use that time to test things out and what worked and that kind of stuff, and then really kind of add more to it and build on it until you're
and then it's to the point where I kind of think sometimes you do free stuff and people don't appreciate the value of it. Although I do, we have done stuff to look at it case by case, depending on who it is. But now it's like, okay, we're on it full time. We have to pay bills. It's vital knowledge. So it's kind of getting that balance between providing value and also, keeping the business going. I understand now, why martial artists do martial arts and then maybe bolt on self-defense, because, we've been full time at it for 2 years and we're just, we're paying bills.
Yeah.
But it's, we're being a small business, it takes a lot of building, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of hats you got to wear, and I'm no social media, but I know it's important to put that out there, and I know my strengths are in a different area. So yeah, it's a tricky one to stay full time. It's challenging.
Yeah. So who makes up Streetwise Defence?
It's two of us.
Okay.
There was my nephew. He was great help. Def did loads. Big shout out to him. He stepped back for a little period of time to look at what he wants to do. My partner Julie, she's behind the scenes. She's the one does all the statistics, because I'd rather get out there face to face, deliver the education, the learnings, all that other stuff in the background. Just kind of melts my head. Yes. And I just get me out there. I'll go and speak to people. Yeah. So yeah, just two of us at the minute. It'd be nice to, expand that, but it's tricky.
It's just got to keep going at it.
Yeah. It's trying to get that brand awareness and getting a bit more exposure.
So what's your main exposure? Is it LinkedIn is your main exposure that you?
Facebook, Instagram, and then we're focusing more on LinkedIn to get the decision makers,
right?
So we can get in larger group of people. I did a chat on BBC Radio Lincolnshire early this year, and it was from that I had a lady reach out from me locally from the WI.
Okay, yeah.
And I did a sort of 45-minute session for her and the ladies locally, which went, it was really well. And from that, we're doing a full day's training locally for the WI in a different area with all the local communities, like daughters, granddaughters, all that. And we're doing that just just covering our costs for that, for getting there, because I wanted to try and help that community, because I didn't realize how big that community is.
Yeah.
It's like 190,000 women. Yeah. I'm like, we have an ability and a chance to create that change for our next generations. And so, and as my mind's gone off from there, what was the question?
So
Other guy just waffling on the spinner. You're like, what?
So who I guess who is your like main kind of demographics who approach you for help and stuff now?
It's varied. It's so varied. It's a shame a lot of times people are contacted us after something's happened.
Yeah.
I don't need that. It's like the preventative.
Yeah.
Family members, we have parents concerned for their children going to university. We have community groups contact us, getting educational people. We get contacted for like drop down days when it's like an expansion on life skills, and they want us to come in and do like little workshops. Companies, unfortunately, a lot of times when something's happened to a staff member, they're worried like when we're going into winter as well. And I think from all the lockdowns when people started commuting again, so it's quite varied with different kinds of people. We've done, I did some on Saturday, did 3.5 hours online to a community over in America.
Right, okay.
Yeah, over there. So, yeah.
So do you do like pre-planned, I guess, like workshops and then sell tickets on Eventbrite or something like that so people can sign up and come along for it so you get a mixed crowd? Or is it people approach you to go and do and drop you into situations to deliver the workshops?
Yeah, the second one. Yes, people contact us and it's like, we did try hold a couple of open events.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's people because that topic self-defense, people are like, oh, we're going to do it the press-ups. And like I always say, you don't have to do any physical.
Yeah.
You can sit and watch. I'm not going to get people up doing press-ups and all that mad daft stuff. It's like, come and watch, take the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes that puts people off because that probably is like the old school when I was like
the perception of it.
That's how it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And people still probably think, I don't like doing press-ups it's like, no, the knowledge is the key bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's normally groups, whoever, and they're going in to deliver for them, for their people. Because when we held 2 open events and we got like 3 people. Because it's a difficult topic.
Yeah. And
to then sit in a room with people you don't know.
Yeah.
And also like trauma, I always say same identifying groups seem to work better.
Yeah.
I know I'm a male instructor and hopefully I get people's confidence and understanding that I'm there, to help and support. But a lot of people, especially unfortunately women, have experienced something. So it's delivering it in a trauma understanding way that is supportive, creating a safe environment that, like I always say, you don't have to put your hand up to go. You can leave, you could come in and out when you want. If something is triggering, it's not done on purpose and it's done with empathy. Do what you need to do to be, look after yourselves. I always talk about mental health, my struggles I've had, and also, the support systems there. I've used some of them and they're awesome. People are survivors. So shouldn't be any shame or stigma. It's like, no, unfortunately at the minute, things happen to people until we can address that and get rid of that, which hopefully it'll happen, but it's going to take some time. So get your power back, empower yourself to don't feel like you have to walk around in a victim state. Understand you've got a lot of abilities already. It's just me highlighting them and maybe adding a couple to it to go, right, yeah.
So what's the next step for Streetwise Defence? What's the plan?
I was going to say something, world domination. I've got a goal in my head, and I hope it doesn't sound egotistic and come across like, but to train, educate as many people as we can, I've got a figure in my head. And it's like, and if we could reach that figure, then imagine the impact it would make. And also I always think, if we had all the same ability to be violent, to protect ourselves, and we was all aware and we understand human nature and everything, and we'd know where the dangers are, everybody did, how much would that reduce stuff happening? Because imagine me and you sitting there going, right, we're as good as each other. We've got the same knowledge. Would we fall out? Would we potentially fight or disagree or manipulate each other psychologically? Because you'd go, stop doing that. I know what you're doing. I'm not having that. So it's like, it would raise the bar to a level where I think a lot of things potentially might not happen.
Yeah.
So the positive impact.
So how long are you going to give yourself to reach that figure?
It'd be great, like 6 months, but for me, this is it.
Okay.
That's me now until
just keep going.
My breath stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just see it's so important, and it's so nice when people trust us to come in. And although it's a very difficult topic, once we've been there, people take a lot from it.
So, in that case, then just to then wrap this up, if anyone's watching and wants to to get you guys in and contact you and stuff, where can they find you?
Website is streetwisedefence.com. We are LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We've got some online courses. We're trying to look at developing them for other communities. There's a lot of communities that are forgotten about as well.
Yeah.
The deaf, hard of hearing society. You got the LGBT plus communities. And other groups that are kind of like forgot about. And I think this is for everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, reach out. More than happy to chat to anybody, as long as you've got plenty of time. Because it's so important. It's people email us, and I'm like, I need to talk to you because I need to give you the real understanding rather than the perception.
Yeah.
And
how long's the session? 30 minutes of throw people over my shoulder kind of perception.
But the reality is most attacks are ambush attacks.
Yeah.
So how to come back from an ambush attack is very hard, nearly impossible. So the preventative measures are so much more important, I think. Although I'm not dismissing the physical element.
Yeah.
But
it's just awareness of your situation.
Because who wants to end up in a fight and stuff? Yeah. I've been down that road, and the problems it caused physically, psychologically, legally, revenge, all these other elements. It's like most people want to have a nice life, enjoy life with family and friends, and do their own thing.
Absolutely.
Well, so yeah, it's just like, it was like half an hour. It's like, how long's that? An hour and a half. This bloke can talk. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming to talk. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear your story and stuff, and all the great work that you're doing.
And you. Thank you. Cheers. Nice one. Cheers for that.